Hey guys, welcome back. And I am so sorry about that. We had some just really major issues here with everything going on, but we are back and ready to get started for realsy this time. so all right. Good morning. Let me get the chat open over here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the algorithm decides to serve you with right now. So today is Saturday, January 17th, 2026. So grab your coffee. If you have seen the news this morning, maybe grab something a little stronger. We do have a loaded show today. We are talking about the 5 things that are going to try and kill your farm or your wallet this week. The sun is angry, the birds are sick yet again, and the state of California has decided that if your weeds are too tall, you owe them a lot of money. So, also, if you're noticing that it has gotten cold, and especially in the last week or two, well, the polar vortex is not doing so hot and headed southbound. So, we're going to break down the timeline on that and dive into all 5 topics. Let's get started. Alrighty, so first up, let's talk about agro-tourism and regulation associated with that. So when the government says, hey, we're here to help, I start looking for a place to hide my wallet. But this week, it's a mixed bag, specifically, if I can get the word out, specifically for those of you in California or those of you who watch California, because you know that these laws tend to migrate east like a bad bird flu. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, 2 big bills just hit. First is AB 518. And this is actually like good news, kind of, maybe. It essentially relaxes the rules on agritourism. So, if you've been wanting to let people camp on your land, but to make a few extra bucks to pay for feed and that kind of thing. Well, it just got easier. So you don't need to be a KOA anymore or anything like that. You can have limited campers on quote unquote working lands. And this is huge for small homesteaders needing a little side hustle. But there's always a little bit of a but. Then there is AB 732. This is the Clean Up Your Mess bill. So it allows for county commissioners to fine landowners up to $1,000 per acre if they decide your land is a public nuisance regarding pests. Now, on paper, this is about abandoned orchards breeding bugs, right? Well, in reality, this sounds like a Karen Next Door Weaponization Act of 2026. So if your neighbor doesn't like your messy hedge or thinks your compost pile is breeding flies, then you could be looking at massive fines. The takeaway for everybody here, not just for Californians, is to keep your perimeter clean. If you're gray man homesteading, like I've talked about in a video a few weeks ago, look like a lawn enthusiast on the outside and a homesteader on the inside. Don't give them a reason to measure your grass with a ruler. So, very interesting. I will, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'll affect us too much on a daily, day-to-day basis, but it could, right? If I had some really nice land somewhere, and I really cared and I wanted to do this and I needed a little extra side hustle, well, then I'd do that. But anyhow, so second topic for the day is bird flu. Yes, we talked about it quite a bit already. So this is the sequel. So with that being said, let me get up. So this is right here, a map. This is basically all of bird flu. It's infected all sorts of different kinds of animals. So, excuse me, let me move. Nope, that's not going to do anything. Where's me? There we go. Move this over. Oh, and you can't see. Sweet. There we go. All right. So if you can see here, all of the different, all the different species. So it's talking about bears, cats, marine animals, all sorts of things. And then on the very bottom, the squares is the cats, right? Is the wild cats, and that's what they track. So that's the big one I see on here. It does not, unfortunately, track chickens, which is weird and and strange. I see, but um, so I feel like we've been talking about this since 2022, and it's the guest that just absolutely won't leave. So we are 2 weeks into 2026, and we've already lost 70,000 plus birds from California, Kansas, North Carolina. I mean, you guys are getting hammered right now. The difference this year, it's everywhere in the wild bird population. The vector is basically air. So here's the prepper angle for this. And the debate on vaccines is getting pretty hot. The US exports a lot of chickens. Other countries just won't buy vaccinated chicken because they can't tell if it's sick or vaccinated. So the big commercial guys don't want to vaccinate, but the backyard guys like us are losing flocks. So if you have birds, lock them down now. I know that free range is better. I know the yolks are orange and just absolutely gorgeous, but dead chickens don't lay any eggs. Biosecurity is not a joke this year. Dedicated boots for the coop, no visitors. If your neighbor wants to see your chickens, show them a picture on your phone, but don't let them let them walk into your run. This this is just going to become a huge issue here, and I'm just scared that it'll affect our flock, but we'll see. Let me get this back over here. So, well, I think biosecurity is always a huge topic, and I think people take it for granted a lot. So, that it's never going to become a issue for their farm or anything like that. But I think it can, and I think it easily can become an issue, and so we do need to be very careful about that. So, topic number 3. This is my favorite one. Topic number 3. I actually find this very interesting, right? Is sunspots. And so I'll bring up this graphic here and I'll talk about this in just a second. So we are officially in the peak of solar cycle 25, and scientists confirmed it just last week. So what does that mean exactly? It means that the sun is currently screaming into the void between Earth and it. And we are looking at the highest risk of X-class flares and CMEs, which means coronal mass ejections, that we've seen in over a decade. And I'm not saying the grid is going down tomorrow. I'm not selling you a Faraday cage for your toaster, right? Or for anything for that matter. But we rely on things like GPS for everything: precision planting, drone scouting, even getting to the feed store sometimes if you've got bad weather. These storms will mess with GPS, and they will mess with HF comms. So if you're a ham radio operator, you already know the bands are incredibly noisy. If you rely on Starlink, well, expect outages. For the preppers, this is your 2026 stress test. If the power goes out for 3 days because a transformer blew in a solar storm, are you ready? Do you have generator fuel? Do you have the battery backup? The sun doesn't care about your Netflix schedule, so you have to plan accordingly. So, so this is my apologies. I was going to explain this and then I didn't. This is basically what activity they're seeing with sunspots, right? And it's basically showing that it's going up, right? And the orange kind of wave underneath everything was the prediction from 2019, and some of the lines were the adjusted predictions because it's getting worse. So you can see we are right, like 24 to 26 is going to be large for sunspots, and we're going to see a lot of these issues coming up, and we need to be prepared and be ready just in case we do see extra activity. And like I've always said, calm backups, right? We need calm backups in our lives for things like the mesh-tastic radios, things like that. So anywho, topic number 4 here that we're going to talk about is food prices and the wallet pain. And the big one here is the economy. Yes, I know these pictures really got messed up this week, so I apologize. some say the news specifically saying inflation is moderate at 2.7%. I don't think that's accurate, and it's definitely not moderate. So let me translate that. Moderate means that prices are still going up, but just not as fast as they when they doubled 3 years ago. Um, and I think that's really due to one person slowing it down, but that's for another day. So here's the reality for 2026. Beef, specifically, is up, as you know, I put on the slide, 10%. 10%. Why? Because ranchers liquidated their herds during the droughts of 24 and 25, and there are just fewer cows. It's basic supply and demand. If you have a freezer full of beef, you're wealthy, just like during the egg shortages. So, um, if you are homesteading, you need to grow your protein this year. Rabbits, chickens, quail. Beef is going to be a luxury item for a lot of families in 2026. So, if you have the ability to raise your own cows and have them slaughtered at local places, that is obviously the best and most ideal thing to do. I know we have a place here, but growing a cow is a lot of work, and butchering it is, I think it was when I looked last, it was upwards of $2,000 to just to butcher it. So if you're looking for a whole cow, it's probably in the realm of almost 3 grand if you count in what the cow baby cost, the calf for sorry, and then all the feed and stuff until they're old enough to butcher 'em. Which it's still per pound is still a really good deal. We just don't eat that much beef, so it's not worth it for us. And we have people who don't want to look at something in the eyes and then eat it later. So we've come to that with chickens, and we're okay, but beef, something different. So if you do have a pasture, you you can support us, and you can support a steer. Well, do it. You'll be the most popular guy at the church potluck, right? Joking aside, and seriously though, we need to be prepared in our food supplies, right? So when that's one thing why I really enjoy and um really do like freeze drying stuff, because freeze dried food can last forever, well, a long time, right? But so yeah, that's what I'll say about that. So I will go to topic 5, which is the polar vortex, here in just a second. So this this channel and this live stream is brought to you by Ground News. Ground News is a great source of news where you can definitely see where your news is coming from, see the bias that's associated with that, and see if that's something you really want to believe. My favorite part of Ground News is that it provides a great summary for all the news stories that is in the center and as unbiased as possible. It's an aggregator is what it's called. And so I really enjoy them. I use them, and they sponsored this show. The link for them is in the description. Check this out real quick.
The news is divided. Ground News puts it back together, so you can see how many sources are reporting on any breaking story, where they fall on the political spectrum, how reliable they are, and who owns them. Compare headlines and read full articles to see which details are prioritized, exaggerated, or left out entirely. Because the more we understand the media, the more we'll understand each other. Visit ground.news to learn more.
Alrighty. So we really appreciate Ground News for joining us and working on that. They're good people, and they do a good job. So let's talk about being cold, right? So number 5, the weather, because if the sun doesn't get us, the cold will. So meteorologists are watching a polar vortex destabilization event right now. So it looks like it's going to snap in late January or so, next week or the week after. We're talking about deep freeze potentials for the Midwest and pushing south. Even here in Southern California in the high desert, we're getting really cold weather, probably in the upper 20s. I mean, that's not unheard of for the winter, but it's still cold. Remember Texas like a few years back, and all of the just drama it caused when it got so cold, and pipe bursts and factories had issues and affected the whole supply chain, right? It's going to be like that in similar places. So action items for this weekend, right? Make sure to check your heat tape on like all of your well pipes. If you have well pipes, make sure that's active and plugged in and working, because it will cause issues if and freeze and cause whole house issues. Number two is drain your hoses that you forgot about, especially if you have old ones in the corner of your property full of water. If you leave them as they are right now, they will certainly burst. And then during the day, they'll be burst and, melt. And then you're going to lose water, which is a bad day. So number three is check your livestock water heaters. We don't have any, but we use a couple other methods to make sure that they don't freeze. But if you do, make sure to put those in and make sure they are working, so that way your chickens, goats, all of that stuff, whatever you have, still can get fresh water. So if you go out there at like 4 a.m. and the heater is busted and the water is a block of ice, you're really going to have a bad day. So don't wait for the weatherman to scream storm of the century. Just assume it's going to get cold and get ready right now. Also, if you have a wood fireplace, make sure to get tons of wood, right? And make sure it is stocked up in your house so you can heat at night. Make sure you have plenty of ways to start fires, plenty of fire starters just in case, all that kind of stuff. If you have oil and you need oil for your heaters, make sure that's full, all of that kind of stuff, because you'd hate to get be in the cold, right? And then need that to be fixed or need oil. And now you're waiting in line for all of the other people who ordered it at the last possible moment. So yeah, just, I hope that you guys really do have a safe week. So that is the rundown. California is finding people. The birds are coughing. The sun is exploding. Steak is expensive, and it's about to freeze. So it's just another week in paradise, right? But hey, this is why we do what we do. We grow our own, we fix our own, and we stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So if you did find some of this stuff helpful, please make sure to hit a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel already. For all of you guys that are watching right now, I truly appreciate it. It means a lot that you come on and see this. I try and make these news stories things that would be helpful to y'all and worth your time here. Unfortunately, I don't have the video preview that I normally do for every week, but I can tell you it's going to be a pretty good one. It's going to be talking about prepping, what to do and what to think about when you're prepping for your garden this year, because you really need to start thinking right now about what you're going to do here in a couple months when it's not freezing anymore in your gardens. Because if you need to order seeds, it's better to do it now before everybody else starts doing it. And you need to start planning, because if you need to get, compost going, whatever, you really want to start thinking about it right now, planning it. So that's video is going to go over all of that stuff, and that'll be out tomorrow morning/afternoon. So that is all I got. So if you, like I said, found this helpful, please give a thumbs up. That really helps the channel survive on the algorithm. And let me know in the comments, for those who are watching either live or on a replay, are you adding anything to your pantry this week based on these news stories? If so, let me know. And if not, let me know why not. I will go check on my chickens before the government finds me for them looking messy. So you stay safe, stay reliant, and well, I'll see you guys on the next one.